Finally made it to Deathly Hallows. And I've waited a few days to do this, and my cough is basically all gone, so surely this will go a bit better than it has in the last few episodes. But let's get right into it, and I'll start with my rating. My rating for Deathly Hallows Part 1, and this is the one rating I would take with a bit of salt. I rate this an 8.8 at number 6. I'm not 100% sure if that's accurate with this movie. It might be a bit more, it might be a little bit less. And the reason that is Deathly Hallows Part 1 is like an introduction film to the Deathly Hallows, and all the payoffs for not only this movie, the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, but also the whole series are very much contained in the next one, Part 2. And I actually think that's a good thing. But it does work against this film as a contender for, high rank. But still a very good film. Directed well. Good acting. It's got some really cool scenes, especially at the beginning, like when the Ministry of Magic is toppled, when Harry's at the wedding of Bill and Fleur. And some other really good scenes that I'll get into. So let's get into the plot synopsis here. Alright, so the movie starts basically with the new Minister of Magic, Rufus Scrimgeour, addressing the media, stating that the ministry would remain strong even as Lord Voldemort gains strength. And it's a very good scene from a very good actor, and it sort of gives you confidence that they're going to hold out. And then at this point, there's a really cool scene where Severus Snape, who's like the big baddie now, after number 6, where he kills Dumbledore, he sort of arrives in style at Malfoy Manor, where you get to see his new life. And he sits down at this council of Death Eaters, and he informs Lord Voldemort of Harry's departure from number 4 Privet Drive, which is his home. And basically, we're reinforced that Snape is the villain, and at this point, Voldemort has realized that his wand cannot hurt or kill Harry. It can only, it really doesn't work because the core is the same. And then he takes Lucius Malfoy's wand, who's basically like a pleb at this point. He's sort of an untouchable, like an undesirable kind of. And then, basically there's a scene where Harry's being transferred and the Death Eaters attack, and Hedwig dies along with Mad-Eye Moody, and George's ear is wounded. And at this point, Voldemort tries to attack him, but unfortunately, it does not work. And there's something basically going on, and Voldemort can't really kill Harry. And at this point, the Minister of Magic arrives at the Burrow, which is Ron's house, and has Albus Dumbledore's will, where Ron, Hermione, and Harry each get an object. Ron gets the Deluminator, which is the little thing that Dumbledore uses at the beginning of the first movie. It basically takes light out of lights in a room and can put them back once they're taken out. Hermione is given a copy of the Tales of Beetle and the Bard, or Beetle the Bard, and Harry gets his first golden snitch he ever caught in a Quidditch match. And then Dumbledore also left him the Sword of Godric Gryffindor, which the minister says we don't know where it is, and even if we did, it's not yours to get. And at this point of the movie, they don't know why Dumbledore has given them any of these objects, but he has. And at this point, during the wedding, there's a really great scene where the Death Eaters attack, but before then, they are warned that the Ministry has been overthrown, and Harry, Ron, and Hermione apparate away to number 12 Grimmauld Place, which was Sirius Black's house. And at this point, they discover who RAB is, the letter that was contained inside the Horcrux, the locket, the fake one. And it's basically Sirius Black's brother. And they talk to Creature, who's the Black family house elf. And he explains that a thief named Mundungus Fletcher stole the locket. And Harry orders the house elf to go find him. And at this point, basically, Mundungus Fletcher reveals that he sold it to a witch. And that witch is revealed to be Dolores Umbridge, who was from the 5th movie, who now is once again a top-ranking member of the Ministry of Magic. So basically, Harry, Ron, and Hermione sort of knock out 3 Ministry employees and use the Polyjuice Potion to go impersonate them, where they retrieve the locket. And they try to go back to Grimmauld Place, but Yaxley, who's a Death Eater, basically latches onto them and prevents them from going to the house, so they have to throw him out, and they go into the middle of a forest, but in the process, Ron is splinched. He's basically all cut up. And at this point, they don't know how to destroy a Horcrux, so they take turns wearing it, basically, so they don't lose it. And at this point, Harry sees a vision of Voldemort interrogating Grigorovich, who's a renowned wand maker, who claims that a teenage boy once stole the wand from his shop, the Elder Wand, which is this famed artifact. And basically, Hermione is finding out at this point the Tales of the Beetle and the Bard is about these 3 objects called the Deathly Hallows, where if you possess all 3, you become the Master of Death. And so Ron wears the locket, and he basically is overcome with negative feelings that is, built up through the other movies, that he's kind of very jealous of Harry. Kind of, you understand why, but he's kind of also, he's also made much worse by the locket. And basically, Ron leaves, and Harry and Hermione go to Godric's Hollow, which is basically, they go to see Bathilda Bagshot, who at the beginning of this movie was basically, she wrote a hit piece on Dumbledore, and she was their family's closest friend, so they go to her to basically find out, who was Dumbledore? What do these objects mean? And they think she may have the Sword of Gryffindor, which they believe can destroy Horcruxes, because that's why Dumbledore left it to Harry, because basically in the Chamber of Secrets it was impregnated with basilisk blood, and they know basilisk fangs can destroy Horcruxes. Because Harry destroyed the diary. And goblin artifacts like the Sword of Gryffindor can only take in what makes it stronger. And at this point, in a really good scene, Harry gets to see his parents' graves. And out of nowhere, this woman, Bathilda Bagshot, comes up on them and basically is not speaking, but leads them back to her house, where it's very dilapidated, and all of a sudden Bathilda sort of disintegrates and turns into a snake, Nagini, who had been possessing Bathilda's corpse and basically giving bad interviews in her name about Dumbledore. And in the process of escaping, Hermione accidentally breaks Harry's wand, and they go to another forest. And Hermione identifies the thief as Grindelwald, who is a dark wizard and former friend of Dumbledore. And out of nowhere, there's a Patronus in the form of a doe, which leads him to a frozen pond, and at the bottom is the sword of Godric Gryffindor. Of course, we find out in the next film who did that Patronus, and I'll say that in the next episode. And Harry goes down in there, but he's wearing the locket, and it starts to drown him, but Ron saves the day, who finds him. And they get the sword of Godric Gryffindor, and Ron destroys it with the sword. And at this point, they decide to go to the home of Xenophilius Lovegood, who is the father of Luna Lovegood, and they basically go there because he was wearing a symbol that keeps popping up. It's the symbol of the Deathly Hallows. It was on a grave in Godric's Hollow. It was written into the book that Dumbledore gave Hermione, and Dumbledore also signed his name with that symbol. So they go to ask him what it is, and basically he was at the wedding, and Harry saw him with the symbol around his neck as a necklace, and he tells them what it is, that the Deathly Hallows represent the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Cloak of Invisibility, where basically three brothers, the legend says, basically cheated death, and death granted them a wish each. And one wanted the wand, the most powerful wand. One wanted a stone to bring back the dead. And the other wanted an invisibility cloak, as to not be followed by death. And basically it goes wrong for everyone except the Cloak brother. And Lovegood betrays them to Death Eaters because Luna was kidnapped by them because he was writing bad things about Voldemort in his newspaper. And at this point, Harry has a vision of Voldemort, learning Grindelwald has the Elder Wand, and that it lies with Dumbledore in his grave. So the trio is captured by the Snatchers, and they're taken to Malfoy Manor, where basically a scene ensues, but they barely get out of it, saved by Dobby, who basically there's a mirror that it's like a two-way mirror that Sirius gave Harry, and then it's not really explained that well in the movies, but in the books it's explained. So this mirror that used to show Sirius's face on the other end, ever since he died, it shows someone that Harry believes to be Dumbledore, but it turns out to be Dumbledore's brother, and Harry asks for help, and then Dumbledore's brother sends Dobby to save them. And at the end of this movie, Dobby is killed when Bellatrix Lestrange throws a knife into them as they're apparating, but before then, Bellatrix kind of goes insane because she sees the sword of Gryffindor was found on the trio, and it's supposed to be in her vault, which Snape gave her from Hogwarts to keep safe. So this is sort of the beginning of the hints that Snape is not quite as loyal to the Death Eaters as we think he is. And she goes berserk and tortures Hermione, but they escape, like I said, and Dobby is killed, and the film ends with Voldemort breaking into Dumbledore's tomb and taking the Elder Wand, and he basically becomes the most powerful wizard. 1 second. Sorry, 1 minute here. Um, okay. So, this movie, like I said, is an intro to all the good things that happen in the next movie. Um, I do like this movie a lot. Maybe I'm a little bit underrating it, I would say. The problem with it is it's not nearly as epic as the next film, or, number six ends with, Dumbledore being killed, which, as I established, is like a really finely crafted. And this one does end well with the Elder Wand being taken by Voldemort, who basically takes it because at this point it's clear that it's not just the wand that's protecting Harry, it's like a variety of things. Obviously, his mother protected him with a sacrificial spell when he was born, but also mainly Voldemort uses Harry's blood when he comes back, in the ritual. So Harry's protected. So essentially, he needs the Elder Wand to, like, not lose any duel and be able to kill him, which he does get. And then the next film goes into like wand lore and how you actually get to possess or earn a wand, and we'll get into that. But a lot of things are set up in this film, things like Bellatrix's vault that may be hiding things that are very important, things things like Snape is possibly disloyal because he gave Bellatrix a sword that's fake. And also there's this question of who conjured this Patronus who's in the shape of a doe. Harry's is a deer, which is kind of interesting if you think about it. The son of the woman whose Patronus is a doe, as we find out, as is Snape's. We'll get into that in the next movie. So there's a mystery of who did that doe. And all these things are answered in the next film, as well as like big arcs and payoffs that all come to completion at the end. Other than that, there's a lot of good scenes in this movie. I really enjoy the scene where they're in Malfoy Manor and Snape arrives. It's like a really epic scene, and he just looks really cool. Alan Rickman playing Snape. And then Voldemort kind of murders this former teacher at Hogwarts, and Snape is forced to like sit there and not show any emotion, and it shows his like character strength where he like never cracks. Basically, he's forced to, pretend and pretend and pretend for the greater good and not show any emotion. And then another scene I like is when they go to the Ministry. It's a very good scene, and I like that they sort of have another moment to like get back at Dolores Umbridge, like before Harry stuns her with his wand. He says like, "I must not tell lies, Dolores," when she asks him a question. Or he says like, "You must not tell lies," something like that, which is of course a jab at her. Jab at her, what she did to him in the fifth movie. And there's a bunch of other like really tense scenes, like when they're escaping the Ministry is really good, when Bathilda Bagshot is really the snake, Nagini. Also, there's like, I like the tension between the characters, like Ron, his jealousy coming up for Harry and all this stuff, but then I like how he sort of is redeemed, and then even more so in the next film. And like I was saying at the beginning of this episode, I do appreciate and support what they did by making this movie 2 parts. I think that they should probably have put more stuff in part 1 that maybe they cut out of the book. But I do think it's an effective intro movie, and if they did make it one movie, A, it would probably be 3 hours, and B, they would just have to cut out loads of stuff. I really enjoy that the second movie is reserved entirely for payoffs, and it really works fantastically as a film. I also do love that about the last Lord of the Rings movie, but even that is like the last half of the movie is all payoffs. With Harry Potter, it's like, and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, it's probably, I don't know, like the last 70% is payoffs, something like that, or 60%. And obviously they're built up, it's not immediate. It's a very good movie, and I do like that it doesn't hesitate to kill off like people like Hedwig, Harry's bird, and Mad Eye Moody, who's sort of like a beloved character. And then there's more of that in the second one. And I just think it works very well. But like I said, I'd like to watch it again to make sure that I have sort of the best opinion on this. But that was my little review for part one. Part two is going to be, I have a lot more to say, and we're going to show I'm going to screen record so you can see my IMDb list, and we'll go through it, and I hope you guys enjoy. And I'm going to record that right now, actually, so I'll see you in a bit.